Your Bravo Weekly News episode is coming on Tuesday. I'm so sorry for the delay, but I only had time to record either the news or the Valley After Show. And I wanted to do the Valley After Show because the new episode comes out on Tuesday. So there was kind of like time is of the essence. And listen, I got a cat and he's an adorable little angel, but I'm a little behind. Just this is my first weekend with him, so I'm catching up. So enjoy this recap for now. News coming at you tomorrow. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Bravo Papers, a safe space for all us Bravo fans who love to analyze, deconstruct, and talk about our favorite Bravo shows ad nauseum. So join me, Bravo and Botox, and we'll catch up on all the Bravo news and read way too much into our favorite shows and Bravo celebrities. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bravo Papers, here to talk about the Valley After Show, which has, I guess, replaced the Summer House After Show, which just, I don't know, disappeared into thin air one day. Like, I don't even know what's happening. It's crazy. Like, the Summer House After Show was on. We got like, I don't know, 4 episodes, and then they just like stopped showing it. I don't know. I have no idea what happened. I have no intel on this. I haven't heard anything, but it's very strange. I have to say it's a weird thing that happened with the Summer House After Show, but I guess maybe they were just like, I don't know, we want to put our focus on the Valley. Maybe they weren't getting enough action, people watching it. I have no idea. But, we'll stay tuned for that. Maybe maybe we'll find something out eventually. Maybe there was things said that looked bad for certain cast members and they're defending them. I really don't know. But no, I don't know. That's a stretch. I don't know. All right. Let me know if you have any theories. Okay, let's talk about the Valley. We're going to start with episode 1 because obviously, why wouldn't we go in order? Obviously, the first topic is Jax and Brittany. So Brittany says the texts between her and Julian were from months before. And whenever she was texting him, during the separation, she was texting him during the separation, should say, sorry. And she immediately stopped seeing Julian when she found out that because I guess he had like drama and stuff going on with his baby mama. So she stopped seeing him. So even like the texts and the images that Jack saw and like freaked out over were actually from months before. But Jax is trying to make it out to the audience that it is like he just found these and they are fresh and new, because it makes him look like even more of a victim, or to have them kind of like in close proximity to when she was like, maybe I should give him another chance, like Jax or whatever, makes Brittany look worse. And that's obviously what Jax is trying to do, which, yeah, for sure. Of course he's doing that. Of course he's smudging the timelines and trying to make things look worse. I have been saying this since I saw that first episode. He was trying to like have his own Scandival. Like the fact that he kept saying like best friend, like he watched Scandival go down. He watched people calling Raquel Ariana's best friend. And that is exactly what he was going for. But it's not going to work. Okay, Jax, you're not Ariana. You're not like, yes, Julian is in your friend group, but he's not your bestie. You're just, and even if he was, nobody cares because you're Jax, and we all know you've probably cheated on Brittany like 1,000 times already. So, plus, once again, you were separated. So it's not even really cheating. So Britt says that Jax is trying to make the timeline sound worse than it is. Definitely. Jax says he saw the dates and it was around the time that him and Brittany had hooked up again. Okay. Again, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. None of it matters. Like, none of it excuses you throwing bar stools and flipping over a coffee table that you hit her with None of that while your son is in the other room. None of that matters. And even if fine, the most I could give Brittany is like maybe it's in poor taste to like choose Julian. But even that, like there's no, it doesn't matter. You again, I know Jax has cheated on Brittany 87 times. I don't need evidence. I don't need anyone to come forward and say anything. I know that in my soul. Because if Jax is not cheating, then I don't know, the world is ending. Like I just it's Jax is cheating, okay? And he's sleeping with people while they're separated. Why can't she? Like just get out of here. So Britt says that they reunited for a very brief period of time because they were getting along better. She said it did not last long at all. And, you know, she had her moment of like weakness because he was like, I'm going to change, whatever. And, you know, listen, Brittany's not like she's Brittany. Like she's definitely the type who would be like, well, he said he changed, you know, like she's kind of got that whatever, but she seems pretty resolute in like she's done with him now. Jack says that he wishes he reacted differently, but show me a man who wouldn't react like that slash go ballistic. I can show you many who would. There are some who would get violent and they are what we call abusers. Jax, and you're one of them. Jack says he was on drugs and alcohol, so that's why. So he's just going through the list of all the excuses. It's her fault. She made me do it. Show me one guy that wouldn't. I was drunk. I was high. Like, it's just shut up. So then Britt says he saw a couple of texts that were old. He freaked out. But she says, imagine being her. She said she read multiple disgusting, explicit messages that she would get in her DMs from women all the time that he fucks. Okay, so there you go. There you go. Jason says Britt is not a liar. And basically Jax is. Luke says Jax was texting with at least 15 girls. So yeah, if Brittany's word is not enough for you for whatever reason, I mean, it's basically the entire cast is like, fuck off, Jax. Jax says, oh, I got a taste of my own medicine for what I did to Tom Sandoval. Okay, we don't even need to go back that far. You got a taste of your own medicine from what you did to Tom Sandoval, with Kristen. How about what you did to Stassi? How about how you cheated on Brittany with Faith? Like the list goes on, and I'm sure there's been many other infidelities since you've been with Brittany besides Faith. Like there's just no way there isn't. Basically, everyone on the cast says that Brittany is not lying about any of this. And everyone also says that Jax has always been the villain and he's desperately looking for something to make Brittany look bad. They say he's a narcissist, he freaks out about everything. Like, none of them are surprised by any of this, which I'm so glad that they're all sitting here saying this because there's way too many people still in the audience who are for some reason trying to defend Jax, and it scares me. Jack says he will be okay with Britt dating again because, she needs to be loved and he wants them to be great co-parents. Like, he just knows all the things to say. He doesn't give a fuck about Brittany being loved. If he did, he would have loved her. And no, he doesn't get to use substance abuse as an excuse. There are many people out there who have issues with substance abuse. There are many people out there who are addicts who do not become abusive. And there are also some who do become abusive. So the addiction aspect does not cancel out the other stuff. It's the same as James Kennedy. Okay. That, you have that in you and that's an issue. Okay. You need to deal with your addiction, but you also need to deal with the other thing. So, okay, then we talk about Julian. So we have, unfortunately, Lala is in these interviews. We have Lala with Britt. Then we have Zach and Jasmine. Then we have Jesse, Jax, and Schwartz, I think it was. Yeah, Schwartz. And then we have Kristen and who is Kristen with? Kristen and Nia. And then we have Michelle. Sorry, my hair clip might have just made a snapping noise. Then we have Michelle, Janet, and Sheena. There's a threesome for you. Okay, so, so just to clarify, so Lala, Zach, and Britt, and they're all in separate confessionals, just to clarify, they all say and agree without knowing each other saying it, which to me makes it more authentic, but they all agree that Julian was not that close to Jax. Again, I don't need this. I don't need this whole, I don't even need this whole like topic of discussion being Julian. Brittany could have had sex with Julian in Jack's bed and filmed it and then like left the video for Jax with, you know, a little card that said fuck you, and I would still be on Britt's side. So there's that. Okay. They said they did not hang out on the regular like Julian and Jax. They were friends within like the larger group and that's it. And they were not by no means quote unquote best friends. Lala says Julian was basically close with whoever was currently paying the bill. And Brittany seems to kind of co-sign that. And Danny says that, yeah, they were friends, but Jax exaggerates. See, the guys don't even have Jax's back. Like, it's even the funniest part about watching the after show is watching Schwartz and Jesse sit on either side of Jax, and they basically co-sign nothing that he says. Like, they straight up laugh at him sometimes when he's telling lies and like kind of roll their eyes. Like, it's actually, I've never seen anything like it, because usually when you have people paired up, they're like ready to like, you know, die on the hill for each other. But it's not happening here. They're like, no, we're not. We can't defend this. Like, this is like, there's no hope for him. So Lala says it was never like Julian and Jax hanging out one-on-one. Jason, meanwhile, says like, yeah, they hung out with Julian, like the three of them sometimes. And then Jason starts joking around and he makes a joke that they would pay for everything. So it does seem like this whole like Julian is like trying to get people to pay for things. Brock says Julian was maybe milking his relationship with Jax, and Jason says, okay, yeah, sorry, that's the one I forgot, because Jason and Brock are together in a confessional. And Jason says they were close enough that Julian maybe shouldn't have tried to slip in with Brittany, but again, you know, Jax exaggerates. So, which that's fine. If you want to say something, like, if that's the case, then yeah, fine. You can say to Julian, like, why are you trying to slip? Like, I don't know. I think that Britt needed somebody who was telling her that she was hot and sexy and beautiful, and Julian was that person, and that was it. And to be honest, I don't blame her, especially based on some of the things that we're going to be talking about later in this recap that that Jax has been saying to Brittany. So Schwartz says it doesn't matter either way because Jax shouldn't have reacted that way. Exactly. I can't believe I'm here agreeing with Schwartz, but here it is. Nothing justifies Jax's reaction. Like, she could have had sex with Jax's brother and it doesn't justify violence, period. Okay. So Jax asked Schwartz, well, he's like, well, how would you react? Like, Jax is so desperately trying to get someone on his side. He's like, how would you react, Schwartz? And Schwartz is like, I lived it. And he's like, Katie dated Max. And Jax is like, well, you don't count because you just let everything roll off your back. So suddenly, you know, now that he doesn't get somebody to co-sign, he's like, because we saw, I guess technically Schwartz kind of had that experience, but even though him and Katie weren't together, etc. And at the end of the day, guess what? Schwartz didn't flip any tables or get violent with a woman. So fuck off, Jax. So I guess your little theory that most guys would is not really panning out, is it? And then Kristen says if she was Brittany, she would have fucked Jax's brother. Thank you, Kristen. Finally, somebody with some sense. Okay? Because that's what I would have done. Love you, Kristen. And I'm not even being sarcastic right now. Okay. So when confronted, apparently Julian was trying to like justify it. And it seems like he's kind of like not in the friend group anymore. Jesse says, you know, Britt could have chosen someone else. And yeah, like that's going to be my biggest critique too. Fine. I guess she could have chosen someone else, but I still am not on Jax's side and still don't. And here's the thing. I think he deserved it. In the general, like, boundaries of life, I would always say to anybody, don't hook up with someone in the friend group when it's like, in your like exes or separated husband's friend group. But this is not a regular situation. This is Jax Taylor. So in this case, like Kristen said, fuck his brother. Okay, so let's go to Janet and Kristen because it's nice to talk about something besides Jax. So Janet says her apology to Kristen was authentic and sincere. Um, was it? Because you threw in the whole like crazy Kristen thing, so I kind of feel like it wasn't, but okay. Kristen says it wasn't good because during the apology, she had to throw in an insult to Kristen's bestie, Zach. Which, yeah, I can see that. And then Janet says that Brittany called her and was like, I have to tell you what Zach said, and I don't know if I can look at him the same way, and all this kind of stuff. So, this is the whole thing about like Zach apparently making this off camera comment. Now, Sheena on her podcast, I covered this on the weekly news last week. If you haven't listened to that, go check it out. But I'll give you the abridged version. But basically, Sheena says that they were out that night, they were all drinking, whatever. And Zach made a comment about like, you know, trigger warning, by the way, because this is going to be like suicide and miscarriage talk, but basically that she should have killed herself when she had the chance. Cause I guess there was a point where Janet was on a 5150 hold because she had like attempted to take her life. And then Sheena says that there was another comment made by Zach where he did say something about a miscarriage directly. So that's according to Sheena. Now, again, it's hard to know because I'm not getting like a clearer. I just have Sheena's word. Now, Janet as well. And, I don't know. Do we believe Sheena and Janet fully? I don't know. But it seems like something did happen that was worse than what we saw on camera. Like, I have to acknowledge that because at the end of the day, Brittany did stop speaking to Zach for months, which she confirms here. Okay, let's keep going because we're going to get into it. So Zach says Janet takes something small or a hyperbole or something like that and makes it into something much bigger. So is that a confession from Zach? Like, is that him saying that he did say something like that, but it was like, I was drunk and I was like, saying something over exaggerating and I was just like throwing shade and she makes it even bigger. Like it kind of sounds like a little bit of a confession. So I don't know. So maybe he did say that. So, okay. So then where was I? So then Zach says he was drunk. He doesn't even remember anything clearly. He says he was blackout. He says Britt was too. So he feels that it shouldn't have even gotten back to Janet in the first place. He says he's not sure how Britt could even remember clearly because they were all so hammered. He says that he's not even sure Britt heard him right. So, I mean, it sounds like Zach does know that he said something that was like a little bit out of line or a lot out of line, a step too far. And he's kind of like, taking advantage of the fact that they were all drunk and, maybe nobody remembers clearly, etc. But it does seem like Britt heard something. And Britt then says in the confessional here that she was appalled by what he said and she didn't speak to him for 4 months. So listen, that seems like it was something serious enough if she's not going to speak to Zach, who's like her best friend. Okay. But, again, it's hard for us as viewers to know like 100% what the truth is in this situation. So, but I would like to think, obviously, that Zach didn't say that, but it sounds like it's a possibility. And if he did say that, then that's fucked up and he needs to like sincerely apologize and I can understand why Janet wouldn't want to fuck with him. So, but it's tough. It's tough bringing up stuff on camera that happened off camera that you have no proof of and that, and we don't know like the full context and the tone. Like it's a tough situation. So Lala says that Zach will flip a switch and he'll go from like being the best guy to saying horrific things. Okay. So there you go. I don't know. Again, it's Lala, but Sheena, Michelle, Lala say they keep their distance from him because who knows when he'll flip and say something. So yeah. So it seems like Sheena and Michelle and Janet are not Team Zach. Lala also doesn't seem like it. But again, I'm not putting a lot of anything on anything. I'm not putting a lot of stock into anything Lala says because I don't even want her here in the first place. So I'm annoyed that I even have to consider her fucking opinion. I'm annoyed. Okay. Janet says she kind of roped Zach in with Kristen because they were so close, and that, Kristen was posting on social media how much she loves Zach, but she admits that she shouldn't have roped them in together. So Janet's really going with this, like, well, you know, Kristen is like the star of the show and she's like super popular. And I thought everybody would go against her and take my side last season, but they didn't. So now that I know I can't win, I'm going to start like sucking up to Kristen and just pretending that the reason that I was terrible to her last season was because I hate Zach, even though the real reason is because I wanted to paint her as crazy Kristen again, and I thought things would go the way I wanted them to, but they didn't. But we see what you're doing, Janet. Okay. So Kristen says Zach is colorful with his words. I mean, that is such that is such an empathetic way of painting what seems to be Zach maybe having a little bit of a temper where he can go out of line and say things that are crazy shit, basically. But she says that he doesn't. Oh, so sorry. Wait, where was I? So says he's colorful with his words when he's drunk. Um, but she says also, him and Janet are mortal enemies. So what do you think he's gonna say? I was like, oh, okay. So is Kristen like, and then Kristen explains a little more, and I kind of understood what she was saying. So, first of all, the mortal enemies thing is hilarious. I just find it so funny that two like suburban people in the valley are like, we are mortal enemies. Like, it's like this isn't like some like action movie where you have like the villain versus the hero and we're mortal enemies. Like, it's like Janet and Zach from like down the street. I don't know. I just thought it was so funny that she said that. And then Kristen says, if she had a serious mortal enemy, and she uses the phrase again, which I was dying, she said, and she found out that they said, they wish she didn't get pregnant or something. She's like, I wouldn't even care or take it seriously because they're my mortal enemy. So of course they're going to say that. So Kristen is very much like, well, you're mortal enemies. So when you're mortal enemies, you can just say whatever, no matter how fucked up and crazy it is. And get over it. See, I think there's just a difference between Janet and Kristen. And the difference is that Kristen's been around the block when it comes to reality TV. She's had such insane shit said about her and done to her and vice versa, right? So, like, for her, if Zach did say this stuff exactly how Sheena and Janet are painting it, Kristen's like, well, of course he's going to say that because he's drunk and he hates you. Like, it doesn't mean anything. Fucking get over it. Whereas, like, Janet comes from a more, like, pearl clutching sort of perspective, you know? I also think that Janet, like, everybody hated her last year. So she also needs to cling on to something so she can be more of a victim because she's trying to win back the audience, right? And again, I'm not saying that she doesn't have the right to be upset if Zach did say those things, because if he did, she totally has the right to be upset about that. But I just thought Kristen's logic was so Kristen Doty. I couldn't help but laugh at it. Kristen says she doesn't know if Janet was even bothered by the comments. Okay, so here's where we get in. This is where I was like, oh, okay. So Kristen seems to imply that Janet didn't even really care about those comments, that the truth was that she just wanted to weaponize it because she wanted everyone to hate Zach and to be on her side, but she actually didn't even give a shit. Yeah, now see that I can see. That very much goes with Janet's kind of personality and MO that she's shown us since this series has started. Now, again, that being said, if Zach did say those things, she's still allowed to be upset about it. And whether she's authentically upset inside or not, it's kind of irrelevant, but I do understand what Kristen's saying. Brock says Zach says crazy shit, and Kristen maybe likes him because she can control him. Ooh. Listen, again, I'm annoyed that I have to even comment on fucking Brock's opinion. And of course, Brock's going to say that because he's going to go with Sheena. So that's all I have to say about that. Then we talk about Kristen and Janet more because why not? Um, Jason says he doesn't really understand why Kristen can't accept Janet's apology. He says it seems that Kristen will forgive and move on with just about anyone except Janet. Yeah, I think she'll move on and forgive Janet eventually. I do. I do think that some of the reason that she is holding on so hard to the Janet thing is because I think that Janet kind of did, like, in a way, Janet did the sort of worst thing that you can do as a friend, which is that you're good friends with somebody, okay? You're good friends with somebody who has been on TV for a long time, has kind of a persona. Everybody calls them Crazy Kristen. Everybody has this viewpoint of them. And then you get a show together. And instead of just kind of going forward with your authentic friendship the way that it was, you kind of weaponize like that sort of negative persona that was put on your friend by, first of all, the guys in her life who gaslit her on the show, like Sandoval and James Kennedy, etc. And so you sort of reinforce that and try to use it against her to clearly try to make yourself look like, the victim, the hero of the show. Like it's clear like Janet came in with a clear, what's it called? A clear motive. Like she knew what she was doing, right? Like she came on the show and she was like, I'm going to be the star and I'm going to be like, everybody hates Crazy Kristen and I'm going to like take her down. And like Janet was still living in like 10 years ago. And it just seems like she kind of thought the audience was going to go in a certain direction. And she was just so, so, so wrong about that. And I can understand why Kristen would have trouble getting over that, because you're like, what the fuck? Like, we were like for real friends, like not through Vanderpump Rules. And you are now acting like some psycho stalker fan and you're like trying to use my past on TV against me. Like, that is a pretty fucked up thing to do. So that's why, Jason, not that you're listening, but let's just say you are, that's why she's having trouble moving on. It's a wild move. Like, I just can't imagine doing that to somebody if they really were my friend. And that might also tell Kristen the other thing, which is that maybe Janet was never actually my friend. Like maybe the whole time she was just friends with me because I was on Vanderpump Rules. Because like I can understand how Kristen would come to that conclusion. So, and then we saw again too, like in the apology scene later when Janet is bitching about how Kristen didn't take her apology, she calls her Crazy Kristen again. So fuck off, Janet. Okay, so Jason says it seems like Janet needs to be perfect and everyone else can screw up all the time. Yeah, no, sorry. I'm gonna say no to that. It's not, it's just that your wife is she's just not that likable. So, others of them, they can screw up too and get called on it. But if you have like a more likable personality on TV, it's going to make a difference for how quick the audience kind of takes to you and forgives the wrongdoings that you have. And, Janet just kind of fucked around with the wrong one. So that's it. Sorry, Jason. Okay. So Kristen says that they were close at one point. But then filming started. Jax brought on her ex-boyfriend, who Janet had been around for. And then Janet essentially goes against Kristen and says the demise of the relationship with Chris was Kristen's fault. Yes, exactly. So it's like she says like Janet was there for her when she went through a lot of shit with that ex. And then Jax brings him on. And Janet just kind of like goes against Kristen, even though she knew all the shit that Kristen went through with her ex. And didn't seem to give a shit. Jason says Kristen was one of Janet's best friends and her feelings were really hurt about it. Well, if she was one of her best friends, then she shouldn't have gone against her for clout on television. Sorry, and called her fucking crazy Kristen and not taken her side when Jax brings on her fucking ex-boyfriend. Like, sorry. If they're such good friends, why did she do that? Kristen says Janet thought she could run with the whole like crazy Kristen thing and make Kristen the bad guy when they started filming, and simply it didn't work. Yes, exactly. Kristen says she doesn't think that she's superior to anyone because she's been doing reality TV for a long time. She says, I only think I'm superior to people who are mean and cruel for no reason. Oh, it's so funny watching the juxtaposition of Kristen, Kriya. I was going to say Kriya. That's going to be my couple name for Kristen and Nia. Of Kristen and Nia in the confessional. Like, Kristen is just ready to talk shit, spill on everyone, and just be like, fuck all these people, fuck Janet. Meanwhile, Nia's sitting there with her like beauty queen smile, and she's just like, la la la. Like, it's just so funny. I saw the two of them on Watch What Happens Live, and you could see Kristen just like helping her. She's like trying so hard to help Nia to talk shit about Janet. And Nia's like, I don't know if I should say that. And Kristen's like, say it, Nia. Like, it was just, anyways, I'll be talking about that on the news episode tomorrow. So then Lala shares her reaction about the whole Julian thing. Nobody really cares. But long story short, Lala says she was a little bothered at first. But then when Brittany communicated how he made her feel sexy and beautiful again, Lala understood because Brittany had been so beat down by Jax's words, and she starts crying and they get emotional. And the only reason I'm even sharing this is because just to reinforce that Jax is a monster, and I'm glad Brittany slept with his friend. Okay, so let's go to Brittany's weak moments. So she said that, yeah, she did have some weak moments after she moved out because she still loved Jax, and he's a love bomber. He knows all the right things to say, and he can kind of like, charm and manipulate you into believing those right things. And then, you kind of wake up when he just goes back to being who he was. And then you're like, fuck. So she says he never changes. And by the way, I just want to co-sign that he is good at this because I see the audience to this day, after 10 years of Vanderpump Rules and now this first season of The Valley and all the stuff that Jax has done, people still falling for his shit and still falling for his like, my name is Jax Taylor and I have a problem and I'm getting help for my addiction and I'm this, and people still believe it. There's still people in my comments who believe that Brittany's an alcoholic just because Jax said it one time. There's literally no other evidence of Brittany being an alcoholic except Jax saying it. No one else has ever said it in their friend group. We haven't seen anything that has shown that on the television, and people are just like, well, Jax said it. Like, it's just like, does he have like super magical powers? I don't understand. Like, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Okay? Everyone, hear this. Jax Taylor is a liar. Sorry, my voice cracked. Jax Taylor is a liar. He will lie about anything. He will lie about even the amount that he cares for his son. He will lie about his wife. He will tell you things. He will make up lies out of nowhere. Just because he says something, anything he says, you should just assume is a lie until you find out otherwise. Like with most people, we believe people until we find out that they lied later through evidence, or we find out later they're, maybe things that they say don't add up or make sense. With Jax, the default should be lie, right? Whereas other people, the default is usually, okay, I'll take their word for it. With Jax, no, the default is lie. Okay, that's how we're going forward for the rest of time. Okay, so where was I? Jax says that Brittany did want to hook up with him after their split, and he rejected her, and she was very upset. And then, see, we got to go with lie, because as soon as he says this, it flashes over to Jesse, who starts to laugh. sarcastically. And he looks at Jax and he's like, I hope that's true. That's what Jesse says. And Schwartz looks kind of like, oh, fuck. Like the two men sitting on either side of him, who, by the way, are both pieces of shit too, are sitting there. And even they are like, dude, like, okay. So anyway, so Jax says if she doesn't want him so much, why isn't she just leaving? And why did she try to hook up a couple of times? I don't even know why you're asking these questions. They're so stupid. Because she has a child with you, because she married you hoping and believing that you were a good man, and maybe she wants to keep her family together, or maybe she believes that you were actually going to get help, or maybe because you're constantly manipulating and going back to her and being like, I'll change, like, fuck off with that. Schwartz says they've all been in, and then it's funny because again, Schwartz has to jump in and not defend Jax, but he basically is like, well, we've all been in toxic relationships where you know someone is bad for you, but there's like a chemical thing and you still want them. And then you see Jax and he looks absolutely bewildered by this, to say the least. Like Jax is like Jax is sitting there and he realizes that he doesn't even have Schwartz and Jesse on his side. And even though he's in the confessional with them, Schwartz is like, he's like, well, if she doesn't want me, like, why, if I'm so terrible, why would she keep coming back? And Schwartz is like, well, sometimes we go back to toxic people, even though we know they're bad for us. And Jax is like, wait a minute. And you see Jax like thinking, and like the cogs in his brain that are sort of like half broken or like turning super slowly. And Jax is like, wait a minute. He's saying I'm the toxic guy that Brittany's going back to, right? Like you can, it's just so funny. And then Jax, despite this comment, Jax maintains that, Brittany, quote unquote, wants him. And then Lala says, didn't Jax try to come to your house, like show up at your house unannounced to Brittany? So then Brittany tells this story that, oh my God. Listen, Jax is going to end up, I hope this doesn't happen. Okay. I'm knocking on wood right now on my bedside table. I hope this doesn't happen, but Jax is going to end up hurting someone or himself, or he's going to end up in prison. Which is why we need this man off of our TV. Okay. So wait to hear the story. So Brittany says that he was losing his shit because she didn't speak to him for a week. So she wasn't answering his texts. So he shows up to her house unannounced, trespassing on her property or her rental where she lives, either way, comes around to her back sliding doors. So she takes her phone out. She's terrified. She starts filming him and she tells him, you need to leave. We're not doing this. The reason he showed up so suddenly is because he was mad because Brittany watched him on the Bravo Hot Mic podcast and wrote down the 31 lies that he told in the interview. So Brittany says she does, despite all this, she does want Cruz to have his dad, but he's just too unpredictable right now, which is totally fair. For him to show up to your back doors, like to do that to a woman is, whether it's the mother of your child or your ex or your whatever, you don't show up on a woman's property and surprise her at her back door. Like, I get scared when a man comes to my front door who's like, you know, trying to get me to like save the whales or sign up for a charity. It's just, and guys, like, I don't know, I think guys don't think about this the same way that women think about this. Like, we're always like on guard, because we're always brought up to be like, watch out, or like, and like men are predators. And like, that's just how our society is. So, like, to show up at a woman's back door unannounced on her property when they don't know, even if you are someone that she knows, like, especially when you're someone who's been violent towards her, like, whether you were intending on doing something or not, it's a fucked up, evil, disgusting thing to do, period. Not to mention, she's very lucky. She could have called the police. She didn't, but she could have. And I hope that next time, and I hope there's no next time, but if there is, I hope she calls the police. Okay, so let's go to episode 2 now. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Kristen and Jesse. So Kristen says it was a sincere apology, and who is she not to accept it? Okay. It seems like the two of them are friends. I saw the Watch What Happens Live episode, and it does seem like Kristen and Luke hang out with Jesse and his girlfriend. So do with that what you will. Jesse says he was angry last season because basically he didn't want Kristen to talk about his marriage, but he says deep inside he knew there was some truth to it. Okay. He says she sent him a long text after an episode aired last season, she being Kristen. Basically, Kristen said to him in the text that she didn't know he was going through such a hard time. And from there, they just kind of started like texting back and forth. And that led to, the apology and them being friends, which, that does make sense because usually, it starts with something small and then it kind of builds up. Jesse says that his anger over his marriage manifested physically and, the stuff that he was doing, like slamming his hands, etc., was because he didn't know how to talk about his feelings. And that basically he needed to apologize to Kristen without a but at the end. Okay, which he did. So it seems like that worked out. Michelle says she doesn't think his sorry was 100% sincere. Of course, Michelle's going to think that. I'm not saying Michelle's wrong. Listen, do I think that some of Jesse's apology and making up with Kristen is also because he saw kind of the way that the audience reacted last season against him? He saw kind of how the audience was more on Kristen's side, and I do think that Jesse is smart. I think he's shrewd. I think he knows kind of, I do think he knows how to play it. Like, I think he knows what he's doing. And I think he carefully kind of watched what people were saying and adjusted accordingly. Now, I do also think that it's a mix of that and also the fact that he's divorced from Michelle. So he doesn't have, like, he had something to protect. Now he doesn't have anything to protect. And he does think that Michelle cheated. So there is that aspect too. I'm not trying to discount that, but I am just saying that I do think some of it is, like a little bit calculated. But you know what? If they're actually friends, which it seems like they are, because it seems like they've hung out and gone to each other's houses, according to Kristen, then okay, I guess that's fine. But I'm watching. I'm watching you, Jesse. Okay. Even though, listen, sometimes I agree with Jesse. Sometimes I enjoy him as a reality star. Like, I think he's entertaining. I kind of think his dry, like, sarcasm, I actually find it funny. But I can also understand how he's probably a monster to Michelle. Like, I can see both of those things. I can see he's the kind of guy I can see it would maybe be fun to be friends with him, but being in a relationship with him would be a nightmare, which is, in my opinion, a lot of the guys on Bravo. Like, I would probably have a good time hanging out with like Schwartz as just a friend, but dating him would be like actual torture. Okay, so let's keep going here. So, and again, that doesn't like excuse Jesse's bad behaviors, by the way. Michelle says, oh, I said that already. Michelle says she doesn't think the apology was 100% sincere. Janet says it's not sincere at all. Okay, calm down, Janet. You're not part of this. Britt says she thinks it's odd. And Brock says he finds it hard to imagine them actually hanging out. But then Jesse says that he was with Luke, Kristen, and Isabella for the Super Bowl. He said they came down for a weekend to Newport and hung out. Apparently Isabella and him have been to their house a couple of times, and believe it or not, he speaks to Luke more than anyone else on the cast, which does make sense because Kristen said that on Watch What Happens Live as well. She said Luke and Jesse are really close. So listen, sometimes if like the two guys become friends, it causes you to become closer with them. So it does make sense. Lala says the only reason that she even knew Jesse was an asshole was because Kristen Doty told her. Britt says back in the day, like prior to the Valley, basically Stassi, Kristen, and Katie, like all of them hated Jesse so much. And that's how she heard about him. And again, that's probably true. But I mean, things change, right? So there was a time where, as well, like the three of them were super close friends and they're not even anymore. So clearly, like, there is a difference. Like, if we're talking prior to Vanderpump Rules or Vanderpump Rules time, we're talking over a decade ago. So clearly, things change. Michelle says, what a shift and change. The only thing they have in common is not liking me. Okay. See, Kristen on Watch What Happens Live was kind of like 50-50 with Michelle. Like it seemed like she was like giving Michelle the benefit of the doubt and acknowledging that Michelle's going through a hard time and things like that. But then there was also other moments where it seemed like she was annoyed with Michelle, but I don't really know exactly why yet. I guess we're going to have to watch more of the season. And listen, nothing unites people more than a common enemy. I mean, it's what the whole movie Wicked is about. So it's not that surprising that they might like each other because they both don't like you. Listen, it's united the whole Bravo audience. Okay. The Bravo audience is never united, but everybody hates Janet, and all of a sudden everyone's united. So she's right. It can be a powerful thing. Luke says Jesse was more active in squashing the beef, and basically Michelle's been lying this whole time about cheating on Jesse. So Luke is basically like, Michelle definitely cheated. Okay. Kristen says she doesn't have anything against Michelle, but Luke grew a friendship with Jesse and that she does appreciate and enjoy Jesse's like funny side, which yeah, I think that's kind of how I feel too. Like, I don't think Jesse's perfect or has no flaws, but he does have kind of a funny side. Okay, then we go to the underwear thing. So Jack says the underwear were clean and they had a tag on. They were from a fan. Okay. And the baby wipe just happened to be there. He says they were not dirty. The guys had gone on a pub crawl, and Jack says that the fan threw them at him. Okay, Jax. Yeah, you listen, you're not like Guns N' Roses in the 80s or something, okay? This is just bullshit. And then Britt says some girl was there. She wiped her vagina before having sex, which I was like, before? Don't you wipe it after? I thought it was after that you wipe it. Like, why would you wipe it before? I don't know. Okay. Anyways, Jack says they didn't belong to a girl, and he's like, "Well, that time, like no one cares about your body count, Jax." And then he says some girl handed it to him at the pub crawl, and then it's funny because Schwartz and Jesse are like, "Wait, first you said they threw it, and then now you're saying they handed it." Like even like again, Jesse and Schwartz are like calling him on lies right in the moment. Schwartz is even like, I was on the pub crawl. I don't remember girls throwing underwear at us. Like it's too much. This man just he just pulls shit out of the air. It is psychotic. Kristen says this is all a lie. She says Luke was at the pub crawl too, and nothing about that story ever happened. She said it's not even like he took a story that sort of happened and then kind of twisted it. She said it's just 100% false. Which, yeah, I'm with you. Jesse makes fun of the lie as well. And then Kristen says Jax can create the craziest narratives. She says when she first met him, he said he went to Michigan State. Not true. He said he was in the Navy. Also not true. He said he was deployed to Afghanistan. Also not true. So for those of you who are still like, Brittany's an alcoholic just based on Jax, God help you. Jasmine says the undies were a fuck you to Britt, that he definitely left them there on purpose. So he knew Britt was coming to the house and she would see them. And Zach says Jax is probably the one leaving the baby wipe on top on purpose to like send her a message. And I totally agree with that because that is just something Jax would do. He would so just want, like, he thinks like Brittany's gonna like go psycho, like how he is. And that's exactly what he's looking for. Jack says he never ever called Britt fat. Kristen says, yes, he did. Basically, everyone, spoiler alert, is like, yes, he did. Kristen says she's seen it. She's read texts that have said it, and she's also been there in person when he said it. So, yeah. Jasmine says she's also seen it in texts. Zach says he's also seen it in texts. Zach says he's heard it 1,000 times. Lala says she's also heard it. Okay, so I think we have pretty much a smoking gun here. Zach says he heard Jack send texts and say things like, why don't you get on a treadmill because you're so fat? Britt says he called her a tree trunk because she had stretch marks from her pregnancy. Oh my God, Jax, you're the worst. The fucking worst. Oh, God. Okay. Nia says he used to say those things in front of her family and Cruz. So if Brittany had her family visiting, like from Kentucky, he would say those things. And also when Cruz was around. Well, he deserves jail, prison, throw the key away, like solitary confinement, get this man out of my sight. Jack says, have I has said mean things? Of course. Never about her looks, though. I love the way she looks. I've never said she's fat. And then he goes on about how all relationships have fights and what relationship is there where the person doesn't say mean things sometimes. See, again, like this is what Jax does. He deflects. Instead of talking about what he did and what happened, everybody has fights. Everybody says mean things. What are we, abnormal? Don't we all do that? Like, this is how he gets the heat off of him. And this is how he convinces people. And then you get people being like, yeah, well, that is true. When you fight with someone, yeah, you do say things you don't mean, and then he convinces those people. And it's insane. Like, it is crazy. But then he reiterates never about her body. Her looks, he's like, her looks are the only thing I like about her. Oh, that's so romantic, Jax. You are like, why don't you go write some poetry, Wordsworth? Okay, and then Britt says that he can be charming. The moment the camera is on him, he knows exactly what to say. Exactly. Yes, I think most of us see that. Lala agrees. Jack says things can get misconstructed. I think he meant misconstrued, but I think whatever, fine. It's Jack, so we'll give it to him. And Britt has he's like, well, she's got a big team behind her and a lot of her like girl power. And he's like, so they'll make things up. Oh yeah, they're the liars, Jax. They're the problem. Brittany's girlfriends are the problem, not you. Okay. Not the one who flipped the coffee table and threw bar stools and lied about getting deployed to Afghanistan. Yep. Okay. Schwartz says, be careful because, oh yeah, I love this too. Schwartz says, you better be careful with what you see because she's going to pull up some receipts. And then Jesse starts laughing and Jax is just sitting there like, not even, like, I don't know if he doesn't get it or if he's just like, why aren't these guys backing me up? But exactly. She probably does have receipts. Because again, they're filming these separately, but I'm sure Brittany will get everything ready for the reunion because, yeah, she can, just like she listed the 31 things he lied about on the Hot Mic podcast, she can sit and watch this after show and take her notes. And if I was her, I would do that and get my receipts ready. Not that like you need them because, like, I think most people are not believing Jax at this point, but, just to reiterate. So Britt says that Jax would text her and he would say things like, she has no friends. No one likes her here. He wouldn't want her. And this is because he doesn't want her to vent to her friends. So he would get so mad if she went out with her friends and vented about their marriage. So he would try to make her feel like she had no friends because he wanted their marriage to always look like happy and good on Instagram. But really he was horrible to her behind closed doors. And, he would insult her, call her fat, all these names, be a dick to her, tell her she has no friends, no one likes her. But then he would go out in public and talk about how amazing Britt was and how they have the best relationship. But then she said he would come home and pulverize her, which that's fucked up. And she said she kept it all inside. And this is why she was sick to her stomach. Okay, so for those of you who are still like, she's sick to her stomach because she's an alcoholic. Again, if she's an alcoholic, it's a moot point. It doesn't even matter. And number two, I don't think her being sick to her, like, I think if you are living with an addict, even if you're living with an addict who's like a nice person and not violent addict, you're going to be sick to your stomach because of how hard that is to deal with. So when you are living with an addict who's also a narcissist and who's abusive, yeah, you're going to be sick to your stomach. She said she would break out in hives. She said every day for a year, she broke out in hives. She said she had to go to the hospital once because a side of her body went numb and they couldn't find anything wrong with her except stress. Okay, that's fucked. Britt says it got much worse once VPR was over because he had nothing to do. He was less attracted to her as well, and he let her know it every day. Wow. Oh my God. This man is the worst. I need him off my TV. Okay. Then we go to Jax's addiction, which in my opinion is the least of his problems. and I'm not even trying to be facetious, I really think that Jax's coke addiction is the least of his problems. It's a problem. It's absolutely a problem for a person who's not a narcissistic sociopath. It would be a humongous life-changing, altering problem. But for Jax, you know, he's got way bigger issues than that. Like, he's an abuser, sociopath, narcissist, and then the addict is under those. Like, I don't, okay. Kristen says you can sit and say something to him and he'll respond. And then the second you leave, it's like nothing ever happened. Like, she says you can say things to him and it'll feel like maybe he heard them and took them in, and then you'll leave and it's like you never had that conversation. Yes, totally. That's exactly what happened. Like, Kristen came over to talk to him. She gave him a good talk. You knew she did her best, but you could tell the second she left, it was like it made no impact on him at all. Where was I? Jason says the night of the Julian thing, Britt called Janet and they could hear Jax screaming in the background. So Jason called Jax and was like, I'm coming over to get you right now. You're going to a hotel. So yes, obviously. So, it's good that Janet and Jason did that and like took charge in that situation, because who knows what could have happened. Kristen says she wants him to be better, so things will be better for Britt and Cruz, but in terms of like caring about Jax, like, he can fuck off, basically. Sheena, Janet says they don't feel that Jax has the fear of rock bottom like most people have. Well, that makes sense, because I think he's such, again, the term narcissist gets overused and overused, but Jax is a true narcissist, and he doesn't have the fear of rock bottom, because I really think he really believes he can worm his way out of anything. And why wouldn't he think that? He's in his 40s and he's really done that. And if anything, the way that he's acted he's for the most part often been rewarded in his life with money, fame, TV shows, etc. And now getting another show back like The Valley, I think that kind of, it's like he ruined it for himself again. He did it with Vanderpump Rules when he mouthed off too much and he was like, this is my show and da-da-da. And he didn't learn his lesson. Now he gets the Valley back. He's like, he got all cocky again. And he really thought he was like invincible and that he could just treat his wife like this and be an abusive piece of shit, and that it wasn't going to come back to bite him. Like, he can't see that. And I'm not like saying that as an excuse for him. I'm just saying that is his like extreme narcissism. Okay. Where was I? So yeah, they say they don't think he has the fear of rock bottom, which most normal people would. They think when Britt moved out, he almost enjoyed that. Like, he enjoyed the time alone. He was able to do what he wanted. He had no responsibilities with the kid. Yeah, totally. I don't think Jax, like every sociopath, uses like, the son and oh, I'm a father. Like, he uses that as like a get out of jail free card or to try to excuse things, but I don't really think he cares that much. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it. I think, again, at the end of the day, he cares about himself, and that's it. He's number one and everybody else is number 65. Okay. Britt says she would still go over after they separated and she moved out. She would go over and do things like put groceries in the fridge. And Michelle was like, I need you to stop doing that. Which, yes, Britt, what are we doing? No, let him starve. He's fine. Britt says she'll always have love for him because he's the father of her son. She wants the best for her son, who deserves a father and a mother who are both happy doing their own thing and doing good, but they'll never get back together. Britt, you better never get back with this man, because I'm going hard for you here. And if you do, it's not going to be good. Zach says, and mostly for your safety, Zach says he heard Jack saying that he can't go away like to rehab because he needs to make money for his family. And Zach was like, what money have you ever made? Okay, well, I'm sure he's made something. He's like, what, going to Canada and making $4,000 for an appearance? Well, I mean, for a lot of people, that would be a lot of money, but okay. Listen, I'm still on Zach's side. I'm still let's just shit talk Jax no matter what. But again, I don't even think It's not even because of that. It's not because Jax isn't worried that he's like not providing for his family. It's because Jax just wants to go and party and do what he wants to do. And if he's in rehab, he can't just do what he wants to do. And that's it. Okay. So we have really beaten this Jax Brittany topic to death. So let's talk about the other divorced couple that's bringing so much joy into our lives, which is Jesse and Michelle. Basically, they say co-parenting is not going well. Yeah, thanks. I could have told you guys that. Jesse says they worked out a new schedule and it works for both of them. Okay, that's good. Maybe step in the right direction. Michelle says she does not want to take Isabella away from her dad, and that's why she moved very close to Jesse. And apparently, they now live a few minutes away and they split Isabella 50-50. Okay. And again, listen, I think Jesse has been saying this thing about like Michelle's trying to make me out to be a bad dad. If she really thought you were a bad dad, I don't think she'd be like moving closer and being so like chill about splitting 50. Well, not chill, but, agreeing to split 50-50. She must think that, him and Isabella have a special relationship and and that he's a good dad. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but Jesse says Michelle just moved in with her boyfriend and conveniently forgot to tell him. Okay. He said she had told him a month prior that she might be moving to Aaron's house when her lease ends. And then Jesse spoke to his lawyer, and basically there's nothing he can do about it, which, yeah, of course. Like, Jesse, if you were in the other episode, if you were kind of telling Michelle it's none of her business what you do with Isabella on your 2 days, whether you buy her lots of stuff and spoil her, whether you leave her with a nanny while you go out on a date or something, you vice versa. There's nothing you can really do if Michelle moves in with Aaron. Like, people split up, they marry new people, they become step parents. Like, there's, unless there's some sort of abuse or something like that happening, there's really nothing you can do. Jesse says that, what else did he say? Oh, sorry, that's it. And then Michelle says she loves living with Aaron. She finally has a partner who's there and home for family dinners. So it seems like she's implying Jesse was not. She says she used to do that by herself. And now she has a partner and he treats Isabella like a stepdad. Okay, good. I mean, Aaron seems to have like crazy eyes, but I hope that he is a nice guy and all the stuff that Michelle says. And, from the only what Michelle has said, he does seem like it. Jesse says he was concerned because Aaron is a 30-year-old man. He has no experience parenting. And what if Michelle is like going out one night with her girlfriends or something? And, I guess Jesse was kind of like, can I just take care of Isabella in those cases? Or can we hire a nanny? So Jesse proposed this, I guess, and then Michelle said no. But then he said he spoke to Aaron on the phone, who basically was like, I don't want to be in charge of caretaking if Michelle is away. And so yes, Jesse or a nanny would come to like take care of Isabella. So then Jesse says he was confused as to why Michelle said no. I mean, it could just be a power move. It could just be Michelle being like, why the fuck do you get to dictate, you know, if this is going to be Isabella's kind of like stepfather figure, like, why do you get to dictate, you know, same thing as Jesse was saying before, like when she's on my time with me, if I have to go out, for a meeting or for drinks or on a date, I should be, but again, I guess that's a nanny, so it's like a professional, but I mean, it seems like it worked out anyways, because Aaron was saying like he didn't want to be the sole caretaker, which does make sense. I mean, if you are like a guy in your 30s and you've never taken care of a kid, you might be like, can I get some help over here, please? But yeah, anyways, then Jesse, I guess, had said that he wanted to come and see the living arrangements, make sure it was up to par. But Michelle told Aaron she didn't feel comfortable with that. I think that's overstepping. Like, I don't think Michelle is moving into Aaron's house if Aaron lives in a garbage dump or, some like disgusting place with like sharp shards of glass on the floor. Like, I just don't think that's happening. She's the mother. She clearly loves her daughter and is a good mom. I think Jesse is just trying to be too controlling at this point, and he needs to relax. And listen, I get it. There's a lot of emotions. It's your child. Everyone wants to be overprotective, but at the end of the day, you you have to trust the mother of your child to give your child a safe living environment, and she needs to do that for him. Even though I totally get that it's way easier said than done, of course. But yeah, he said that Aaron, I guess, was like, yeah, I can send you some pics and videos of the house, but he never did. Which again, like, they don't have to. They don't owe you that. I'm sorry. Just like you said on your days, Jesse, you might go out on a date and leave her with the nanny. Like, you also can't control what's happening on their days. Like, I think this is two people who cannot relinquish control and don't want to. And I can understand why, but it's not an easy situation. Jesse says he knows Michelle is a good mom and she wouldn't put Isabella in a dangerous situation. He says Aaron is a good guy and he wouldn't either, but it's more just about safety and security, not about control. It's a little bit about control. He also says that Isabella is happy. She likes her room at Aaron and Michelle's. So he says, that makes it better. Michelle says basically with Jesse, if he's in a good mood, he believes that they're good and everything's easy. But if he's hungover or in a bad mood, she makes sure she gets that hungover in there, right? Just to kind of like plant the little seed that, so we all start to think that Jesse parties too much or maybe he has a drinking problem or something. I see what you're doing there. She says if he's hungover or in a bad mood, then he's a pain. She says he was a horrible husband and he's also a horrible ex-husband. Well, that makes sense. He's consistent. We can give him that, right? That's something. Okay, everyone. That is the end of our Valley After Show, episodes 1 and 2. I hope you enjoyed all of that. And you are now in the know for everything Valley. See you next time. Bye. Thanks for listening, everyone. Your support really means everything to me. And this show wouldn't be possible without you, the listeners. So please, if you enjoy the podcast, leave a 5-star rating and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. For more, you can join my Patreon, patreon.com/Bravo and Botox. And for $5 a month, you'll get 4 extra podcast episodes a month. You'll also get early releases of Bravo Paper episodes and more. Please also subscribe to my YouTube channel at The Bravo Papers and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, at Bravo and Botox and at The Bravo Papers. If you'd like to buy me a coffee, you can at buymeacoffee.com/Bravo and Botox. Send your love through some much needed caffeine. And any guest that was on today's episode will be in the show notes, all their social media and contact information. So thank you so much, everyone. Keep overanalyzing Bravo.